After kitesurfing in Lamu, I really wanted to show Shawn what else Kenya had to offer, so we flew back to Nairobi, jumped in my car and drove 3 hours south towards the Tanzanian border to visit a Maasai community there.
Pretty crazy, especially for me. I come from Maui, I'm on an island surrounded by water. All of a sudden, Anna, being the local Kenyan who grew up here and really has known this place, she filmed a documentary here about lions, and I had to kind of hand the reins over to her and kind of listen to what she said. I was reluctant to until I saw my first lion, and then I was like, all right, that's all right, I'll listen to anything you say. Man, those things are crazy. We wake up about 4 in the morning, hop in the truck, and we're off. You haven't gone through any gates, you haven't gone through any fences, you're looking at full-on wild Africa, and these are the animals that are out there.
It was quite odd because a few months earlier I'd been filming a documentary down there and messaging Shawn, who is in Maui, kind of updates, which mainly featured this lioness called Nasha. So to be sat in the car with Shawn and introducing him to Nasha in the flesh was totally surreal.
I'm in a truck, we're driving through the bush. I've seen lions now, so I know what's out there. And the lions are they could be anywhere. And we come across and there's a Maasai guy with a stick just walking with his cattle, perfect food for the lions. He's just walking in the middle of nowhere, he'll wave, say hi, and you're just, damn, there's lions like a mile that way. Maasai, I think, are the toughest people that I have ever met, hands down. Anna, since she's been down there and she's made a couple of good friends down there, one of which was this really, really amazing Maasai family. We kind of told them a little bit what we were doing and they just were really confused. So we decided to bring them out and let them try stand-up paddling. Yeah, we had this whole Maasai family on this inflatable stand-up paddle on the Wasu River, just enjoying themselves. It was amazing. One of the amazing experiences I was able to do down there was I was able to hop on a dirt bike with a really cool guy who grew up here and is Kenya's top enduro rider. Before I know it, I'm blasting through the African desert, just seeing the terrain, and it was an experience I'll never forget. So the area that we were at is called Shampole, and it's for this amazing, beautiful mountain. So we drive down there, crazy drive, middle of nowhere, you're in the middle of nowhere, and then you end up at this watering hole where there's just tons of wildlife, birds are everywhere, and you pump this board up and put it out, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of everything. Couldn't have asked for the most out-of-place situation to stand up paddle, and it was just one of the most magnificent as well.
While we were down on safari, Shawn found out that I was hoping to try my second attempt at setting a world record for highest altitude kite surf on Mount Kenya to raise awareness for elephant poaching, which is a huge issue here in Kenya. And I'm no security head or politician, so it's always really frustrated me to know how I can effectively help. But what I've realised is a lot of people don't know that ivory goods on the market mainly come from murdered wild elephants. So I figured that just spreading that message was a start, and Shawn immediately wanted to help. Most people here just told me that it was impossible, so to get such a positive and supportive reaction from Shawn was amazing. So we got him on board, got some friends to help carry our equipment, and set off up Mount Kenya for Shawn's last 3 days in Africa.
They're like, okay, fine, Anna, you take the lead. You know, she's the only girl. Oh man, that was a mistake. She takes the lead, and boom, go. Like, there's no talking, there's no rest. It's just, you know, I can't ask for breaks. She's just running in front of us. Yeah, when we finally came upon Alice, I was pretty damn happy. We've been walking 4 hours straight uphill, and we finally got there, and it was such a relief, and it was so beautiful.
I was trying to warn Shawn that high altitude kitesurfing and the wind is really different, but he was so adamant that he had the right kite to do it. So I pumped it up, I launched him, just so he could have a feel for it. The next moment I looked around and Shawn was cruising across this lake, and John and I were in complete disbelief on the side of the lake. I totally forgot to film it. Shawn was the first person ever to be kitesurfing that lake, and it was such a magic moment.
Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what.
So after kiting, it was, I mean, all of us were on such a high note. Then the moon rose up. It just turned into one of the most beautiful nights ever.
Sleep in peace when day is done, that's what I mean.
We woke up, we had a helicopter coming to pick us up and get us up to Lake Michaelson. And one of Anna's good family friends, this guy Ben, does helicopter tours up there for years, so he knows the mountain better than anyone. And he said our best bet was actually to get up there early, and he was only available this certain day. I've been around helicopters so much in my life, filming, photo shoots. I've actually never been in one, so that was kind of cool, like hopping in, like, wow, I'm on the inside this time. When Ben showed up, he said that it was still all fogged in and the wind was in the wrong direction up the mountain at Lake Michaelson. He said we should go check out Lake Alice. Now we have a helicopter right in front of us, of course. And that's a whole other obstacle that you just don't want to hit. She had a couple interesting launches, and the first time the wind just did a full 180 on us, and Anna killed it. She had the kite up, and she was able to get out there, get a nice gust, and kite for a little while. We're way up high on this mountain, and we're kiting on this lake. It was amazing. It's a crazy experience. So the whole dream and the whole purpose of this whole adventure was to kite on Lake Michaelson. And the whole time, like when we're planning everything, Anna's just telling me over and over, like, Michaelson is amazing. It's beautiful. It's one of her favorite spots in the world. We left Lake Alice to head up there, and the helicopter guy was just so cool. We're flying up, and he's like, you know, let's go see what the wind's doing at the peak, you know, to give us a better understanding of what's going on. The guy does a full-on bank turn, looks at the peak, the very top of the mountain, there's a little flag. He's like, oh, blowing east, that's perfect. Good, let's go down. Kind of crazy to have flown up to the top of the mountain, checked the wind, now we're flying. I don't really know where we're going. I'm not really sure where on the mountain is Michaelson. Everything's kind of tucked around. We've actually dropped down below these two cliff walls, and there's a little gap in between. We fly right through it, and then we open up into this giant crater. And at the bottom is this massive lake, and it was unbelievable. It definitely, I mean, Anna was so right. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. Tried to take anything, like photos, iPhone, video, you can't capture it. It's just so big. It's unbelievable. Such a beautiful place. You have a full crater all the way around, and you have a little tiny gap that the wind can funnel into this lake. So, I mean, already I'm looking at like, wow, we're gonna try to kite this, and all of a sudden it got really quiet when the chopper left, and I'm looking at Anna and I'm looking around these giant walls, and it kind of struck both of us at the same time that all of a sudden we are the only people for miles up on this insane mountain. Anna was like, this has been her full-on dream. This has been her mission. She wants to do this. She's in her wetsuit, ready to go. And I'm like, have the kite in the air, like ready to go. I'm like ready to launch. She's like, okay, stand there. I'm holding it. It's like, there's no wind. And we kind of we kept at it. I mean, we had walked our butts off. We had carried all this gear, the heli, I mean, everything. We had so much planned. We had so much desire to do this and to actually be able to kite, even just for 5 seconds, to be able to get up and go. Anna, before she knew it, had a kite up in the air. She's like, oh, grabbed the board, and everything kind of clicked, and she got on the water and she kind of took off. And I think it both kind of took us a second to realize what was going on, and she started riding, and before we knew it, she was off in the middle of this lake, up this mountain, way up this mountain, in this crater where the wind can only come in through this little tiny gap. And yeah, she was kiting, and she started screaming and yelling, and I was screaming and yelling. I'm trying to film, I'm trying to hold the camera right, and yeah, it was amazing. Really unbelievable. So yeah, Anna was just ecstatic, and threw the bar in my hand. We still had some wind for a little bit. You spin your head all the way around, and all you see is this massive crater wall. It was beautiful. It was the most beautiful place I've ever kited, and I was so happy just to be kiting up there, just to have flying a kite, just to be in the water, which is freezing. It was just an amazing experience. And this full cloud comes through and shuts off the sun from us, and the temperature must have dropped 10 degrees right there. You're just like, oh, okay. We had our window. Let's call it. We gotta get warm because it's getting cold quick. The next morning, once again, it was an early morning. We had a lot to do that day. We had to descend a long way. We packed everything up. We had a little stand-up paddle on the lake, which was kind of surreal. It was just quiet. You're on this lake all alone. Yeah, all of a sudden I realized that the way out of this crater was up the wall. And I'm looking at this almost vertical 1,000-foot cliff wall. And it took us like an hour of just vertical climbing. We're way up high. The air is thin. You're like working yourself so hard in the most beautiful place in the world.
You know, I kind of found myself almost thanking Michaelson for making the impossible possible, and really all we could do now is just hope. We just hoped that this story will reach someone somewhere and stop them from buying ivory.
I was completely exhausted, but I was so happy from what I had just done. And in a couple days on a mountain I had never been, I had kited all 3 major lakes, higher than I've ever been in my life. And yeah, it was just, I couldn't have asked for a better trip.